In what might be the best card of the year, just because the main event, Jon Jones versus Ciryl Gane in the main event for the UFC's heavyweight championship, UFC 285. It is the first Jon Jones fight in approximately 3 years, and again, it is his first fight at heavyweight against his toughest opponent to date in Le Bon Gamin, Ciryl Gane. In the co-main event, we've got the flyweight championship fight between Valentina Shevchenko and Alexa Grasso, and this main card is stacked because also on the card will be the UFC debut of Nickal, Mateus Gamrot taking on Jalen Turner, and also the undefeated Shavkat Rakhmonov takes on Jeff Neal, rounding out your main card. The undercard really good as well. Derek Brunson and du Plessis are on the prelims, and they're not even the featured prelim because it is Cody Garbrandt and Trevin Jones in that featured prelim spot. So 13 fights this Saturday night from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. What a card! And folks, if you haven't yet though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more UFC here on the channel. Last week, we went 8-2 on, again, main event got canceled with Krylov and Spann, but the main event we did get wrong, Muniz and Allen, but other than that, we went 8-1 on the card, so looking for more of that same success this week with Jon Jones and Ciryl Gane in the main event. So we're going to start off the card here with free Basharat. He'll be taking on Blackshear in this fight, and for Basharat, undefeated so far, 9-0, and just got a spot in the UFC off a Contender Series victory, winning by unanimous decision. It was a fight with Basharat. 9 minutes control time in the fight. He goes 3 for 4 in his takedowns. Dominant wrestling performance on Basharat, but what Basharat does, other than some of these other guys who just, kind of lay in praise sometimes, Basharat is going to go in there and he is going to work his strikes and he is going to pound you on the ground. Pause, but still, free Basharat, really good wrestler, and he knows how to really control his opponent when he is on top and really with the top pressure. Makes free Basharat a really solid guy on the ground. There's a reason this guy's a minus 410 favorite, but he'll be taking on Blackshear here. And Blackshear, the former CFFC bantamweight champion, comes into the UFC. I was excited for his debut. I believe it was in San Diego. Yeah, it was in San Diego. Main event was Dominic Cruz and Marlon Chito Vera, but he takes on Youssef Zalal. He has a draw against Zalal, and it's a fight that, Blackshear goes in there, and by the way, no longer in the UFC. Youssef Zalal has gone out the promotion, won 2 straight fights. Maybe he'll be back in the UFC very soon, but in that fight for Blackshear, he wins the first 2 rounds, but they're boring rounds. They are very boring rounds. It's a lot of wrestling. Blackshear, I would say, barely did enough to get the win, get that round in the first, and in the second round, Blackshear does take Zalal down, does hold Zalal down. It's the first fight of this card. No one really in the arena just yet. In the third round, Zalal has a really dominant round, almost finishes Blackshear on multiple occasions in that third. Blackshear goes for a couple takedowns, can't get it. Zalal forces the draw, and now here we are with Blackshear back in the spot against free Basharat. I do like Blackshear's wrestling a lot. I do like his jiu-jitsu a lot. I do like the submission game he can bring when he does get on the ground. 8 of his 12 wins are by submission. That's really what caught my eye on Blackshear, when he was on the regional promotions or the regional scene fighting for CES and CFFC. I know the Chris Moutinho fight doesn't look great looking back at it now. I know Moutinho probably will get another shot in the UFC in some sort of capacity. I know he got kicked off the Ultimate Fighter because Conor had to bring in his guys and whatnot. But, Moutinho is not the best guy. Blackshear also does have lost to Pat Sabatini, has lost to Danny Sabatello as well, who just lost of course, Ralphie and Stotts for the Bantamweight Championship over in Bellator, but since that Sabatello loss, Blackshear went to CES, picked up a win, and then won 3 straight fights in CFFC, is the latter 2 being for the CFFC Bantamweight Championship. And then, of course, getting the Zalal fight, both of his wins for the Bantamweight title over in CFFC, by the way, by submission, both of them by rear naked choke. And I do like Blackshear's jiu-jitsu and his grappling a lot. I do like his wrestling a lot. But when it just comes to this fight, man, I feel like free Basharat's just better. I do like Blackshear a lot. This is one of the guys that I was really excited for when he did come into the UFC because, one of the guys that I watched on his way up to the promotion. It's cool to see a guy that you watch in the regionals finally get to the UFC. Charles Johnson, another guy who just lost to Picasso, my guy, Ode Osborne, just last night. But, it's cool seeing these type of guys, and to a certain extent different to what free Basharat is. Again, nothing against Basharat, but he's been fighting in promotions that, I don't watch local, Afghani fights. I know he's not fighting in Afghanistan, but, I don't watch the Czech Republic and all that in Octagon. I'll watch the Contender when Basharat gets there, but, just different vibes. Anyways, I'm taking free Basharat. A long way to get into this prediction. Basharat's better wrestling. He's got better top control. He should be able to control Blackshear on the ground. I think it's what should lead free Basharat. I'm going to say a decision victory. I think Blackshear is good enough to the point where he won't get submitted. I would be concerned for Blackshear late in the fight if he does get caught in something, if he is tired, but I'm going to be taking the Afghani fighter here and Farid Basharat to win by unanimous decision. Our next fight will be a fight that we already talked about in the fall, Jessica Penne versus Tabitha Ricci. The fight got canceled. Same booking. They haven't fought since. I'm just going to rerun that prediction, and then we'll be back for the fight after, which will be Mana Martinez and Cameron Saaiman. But we've got Jessica Penne taking on Tabitha Ricci first, and for Jessica Penne, coming off that loss in Long Island to Emily Ducote, it was a fight where we thought Ducote was going to win, and it was just kind of played out the way we thought it was going to. Ducote kicked the hell out of Jessica Penne's legs in that fight, and of course, Ducote ended up winning the fight. She got it done by decision. I mean, she just outboxed her, out-kickboxed her. It was a good one for Emily Ducote in her UFC debut, and that was Penne coming off back-to-back wins in the UFC over the likes of Lupi Godinez and Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Now, did she really win the Godinez fight? I didn't think she did, but it was a close enough fight where to the point where she won by split decision. And after that, she beat Karolina Kowalkiewicz by armbar in the first round. And she's taken on the jiu-jitsu practitioner in Tabitha Ricci. So Baby Shark is 2-1 in the UFC. Her first fight in the promotion was a loss to Manon Fiorot. Now, of course, they did her no favors in her first fight in the promotion fighting Fiorot. Fiorot is a fighter who's going to be fighting Kaylin Kuchagian in about 3 weeks, and if she wins, maybe she's getting a title shot just next. But for Ricci, after that, she comes back. She beats Maria Oliveira. She beats her by unanimous decision, outboxes her and out-wrestles her when needed, and just is the better jiu-jitsu fighter in that fight. And same can be said in the Polyana Viana fight, but that was ever so apparent, or more apparent in the Viana fight, because it was Ricci again really working the wrestling and really working her jiu-jitsu and not allowing Viana to do anything off her back. Ricci won that fight 2-1. Now she's booked against Jessica Penne, who is a fighter who I think is still ranked right now in the strawweight division. If she's not, she's just on the outside looking in, because the UFC honestly doesn't have too many strawweight fighters right now. And of course, when she fought Ducote, she was ranked. I can check right now if she is ranked. She is 15. So Penne's 15, Ducote is 13 with her one fight in the UFC. Just shows you though how, I wouldn't say weak. Well, I mean, okay, the strawweight division is a little bit weak. Just how thin this division truly is when you have a fighter like Emily Ducote coming in her first fight, being a fighter who, okay, Jessica Penne has won two straight fights, but they don't have too many fighters at 115 at the moment. But when you look at this fight between Penne and Ricci, I mean, on the ground, I give the advantage to Tabitha Ricci, even though Jessica Penne does have solid jiu-jitsu. I mean, you saw where she did submit Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and she's gotten submission wins before in the UFC, but it's not going to be enough, I think, to, propel her to victory in this fight, at least. I just think Ricci's wrestling and her jiu-jitsu is better than Jessica Penne, which is kind of bad, because now you got to think about it. All right, Jessica Penne's going to have to outbox Tabitha Ricci to win this fight, which can happen, but I don't like relying on Jessica Penne's boxing to win her a fight. So that's why I'm not going to pick her. I'm going to take Tabitha Ricci to win this one. I think Ricci is able to bring her down and keep her down. I could see Ricci eventually getting a submission, but I'll go the safe pick here. I think Tabitha Ricci wins this fight, her third straight fight in the UFC, and I think she'll get it done by decision over Jessica Penne. So next up, we have got Cameron Saaiman taking on Mana Martinez. For Mana Martinez, so far in the UFC, 2-1, with his last victory being a split decision win over Brandon Davison. Both his wins, by the way, in the UFC were by split decision. The first one being the Guido Canetti win. The Canetti win, again, close fight. He does barely do enough to get the victory. You look back at the cards for that one. I believe, you give Canetti the first, and you give Mana Martinez the second, too. Of course, really turns it on in that third round. For Martinez, the second fight in the UFC, it is the Ronnie Lawrence fight. And again, just like the Canetti fight, Mana Martinez really turns it on in that third round. Lawrence, does really well in those first two rounds. First round against Martinez knocks him down. A lot of control time. Same with the second. Lawrence knocks him down twice, but you get to that third round, Mana Martinez flips the script. 2 knockdowns to Ronnie Lawrence. And it's a solid end of the fight for Mana Martinez. Definitely wins the round. His next fight, the win over Brandon Davis on the Grasso Araujo card. 2 knockdowns again for Martinez, both in the same round. Second round for Mana Martinez was his best. But in that fight in the third round, it was Brandon Davis coming back in the third and winning that third against Martinez. Brandon Davis's second UFC run wasn't great. He's now outside the promotion yet again. He'll be fighting on Gulf Coast MMA in his next fight against another former UFC fighter in Joshua Weems, who only one fight in the promotion and then got cut, and now he's back outside the promotion, taking on Brandon Davis. Maybe the winner will get back in again, but for Martinez, will be taking on Cameron Saaiman in this fight, and I mean, it's an incredibly tough fight for him. Cameron Saaiman, undefeated so far, 7-0, wins the Contender Series, big left hook knockout win over Josh Wayne Kim. Comes in after that, he's booked against Ronnie Lawrence, fight doesn't happen, gets Stephen Koslow instead. He knocks out Koslow in the third round after an accumulation of damage. Saaiman put it on him, but he did get taken down some. It was a brawl, man. I mean, Saaiman and Koslow really traded positions on the ground. The second round was more of a better round for Saaiman. In the third round, Saaiman really started to turn it on and put it on Steven Kostel and eventually won the fight that way. And when you look at this fight though with Martinez and Saaiman, I'm going to lean towards the favorite here in Saaiman at minus 250. I do like him here. Yes, Martinez can turn it on, and he is a good striker, and he can put it on you at points. But there are also points in the fight where he does lose as well, right? It's just Martinez sometimes looks really good, sometimes he does look really bad. It's just depends what Martinez you get. You know he's always going to bring the fight. You know he's always going to throw back at you, and you know he is going to throw power back at you. It's just dependent on if you can stay on your feet, and it's dependent on if you can if Saaiman, I guess in this case, can keep pushing forward against Martinez. I think he's going to. I think someone's probably, in all likeliness, getting knocked out in this fight. It is a war on the feet between these two. Someone's likely going to get knocked out, and I think it's going to be Martinez. I think he's going to knock down Saaiman too. I think both these guys are going to score knockdowns. But in the end, and in that second round, late in the second round, I think Saaiman will find that button and eventually, again, get to Martinez and put him down and put him out. Give me Saaiman to win his second fight in the UFC, scoring a second round knockout victory against Martinez. Next up, we have got Machado Garry taking on Kenan Song. For Machado, Garry so far in the UFC 3-0, came in with that huge knockout victory against Jordan Williams. I mean, the big counter right, put down Williams, he won the fight. Gets the Darian Weeks fight after that, beats Weeks by unanimous decision, and then gets Gabe Green after that as well, beats Green by unanimous decision. Gary's looking good. His striking's looking good. I mean, the Irish-born fighter is on an undefeated run so far in the UFC. The Darian Weeks fight, I think was a little bit, he wins the fight. I think it was a little bit underwhelming considering what hype was brought to Ian Garry and, the Jordan Williams win, the big knockout where he was getting messed up on the feet. Jordan Williams was putting it on him until Garry landed that big step back counter right and put him out. The Darian Weeks fight, he wins though by unanimous decision, but the fight where, Garry looks really good, I think at his best, is the Gabe Green fight. He looks good in the Green fight. Really puts it on Gabe Green. The volume was there. The outright striking was there. He looked sharp in that fight. He looked really sharp in that fight, kept a pace for 15 minutes and for 3 rounds, and Ian Garry showed, again, he's 3-0 in the UFC now. He's 10-0 in his professional career, and he'll be taking on Kenan Song in this one. And for Song, 4-2 so far professionally. Last fight, though, was an L 2 years ago against Max Griffin in a co-main event spot, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, in a co-main event spot. Brunson, Holland. Co-main event spot for Song Kenan. Kenan Song loses. Max Griffin blitzes him and puts him down. Again, since then, Max Griffin picked up one against Carlos Condit, lost Neal Magny, beat Tim Means in his last fight. We have not seen Song since then. Had a win over Callan Potter before that, where he knocked him out. Had a unanimous decision victory over Derek Krantz, lost to Alex Morono, beat Hector Aldana, beat Bobby Nash. That's his UFC run. Just want to bring up, though, Kenan Song has not beat a fighter right now who is actively in the UFC. Bobby Nash no longer in the UFC. I don't know what this guy's up to, I'll be honest with you. He's fighting in XFC, hasn't fought in 2 years. Hector Aldana, I don't believe fights anymore since he lost to Miguel Baeza. For Derek Krantz, I don't think Krantz still fights. He fought late in 2021. For Callan Potter, I don't think Potter fights either. Yes, he hasn't fought since the Song lost. So again, none of the guys that Song has beat is no longer in the UFC, right? They're all gone from the promotion. But what Song is good at, though, Song's got power. Song's got good striking. And it's a tough spot for Machado Garry. Now, don't get me wrong. Machado Garry's going to win the fight. I have him doing my first round knockout. I'll make that clear. But I think Song's a tricky type of guy. It depends on what Kenan Song we get. If we get the type of guy who went there and beat, Bobby Nash in 15 seconds or beat Hector Aldana in the second round, it's just going to make for some tough spots for Machado Garry. But I think Song Kenan will be there to be hit by Machado Garry. I think Machado Garry will be able to hit him. His straight shots should be there, and they should connect. Again, I think Gary's the better striker, technically sound. I think Gary's got more power than Song, and I think Machado Garry will win this fight, and I think he will go to 4-0 in the UFC. Again, there's a reason he is a minus 600 favorite in this fight. Again, Song Kenan has not fought in 2 years, and it's been a while. So give me Machado Garry to go in there, pick up his 4th win in the UFC. It will be his 2nd win in the UFC by knockout, as I think he will get his 2nd first-round knockout by finishing Song Kenan in the first round. Next up, we've got Julian Marquez taking on Marc-Andre Barriault. For Julian Marquez, coming off that loss to Gregory Rodriguez in the summer last year, I mean, I like Julian Marquez, but he kind of just, blocked punches with his face in that fight. RoboCop came at him, and RoboCop ran right through him. And now, of course, RoboCop was on a big run until, Bruno Ferreira on a couple weeks' notice goes in there and knocks him out in Brazil. I still can't comprehend that. Now Ferreira is going to go fight Abdulrazak Alhassan in a fight that's just pure chaos and pure violence. But for Marquez, loses to Rodriguez. But before that, for him, coming back from his hiatus, his 3-year hiatus, he beats Maki Pitolo, he beats Sam Alvey, but again, it loses to Gregory Rodriguez. He was booked against Jordan Wright, Kyle Dawkins, Wellington Turman, Duran Win. None of those fights happened, and now we get him and Marc-Andre Barriault. For Barriault, coming off that loss to Anthony Hernandez on the Sandhagen and Song Yadong card, Hernandez just dominates him on the ground. It's one-way traffic like we predicted for that fight. Hernandez was by far the superior grappler. He was able to go in there. He's able to submit Barriault in that third. Before that, Marc-Andre Barriault goes in there, picks up a submission win over Jordan Wright. Jordan Wright, though, the Beverly Hills Ninja, no longer in the UFC after his loss to Zach Paunga in his last fight. But again, Barriault picks up the win by guillotine choke. Before that, for Barriault, has a loss to Chidi Njokuani. Chidi Bang Bang goes in there, knocks him out in 16 seconds. Barriault's got, I would say, his best performance against Dalcha Lujanbula. He goes in there for 15 minutes and does look good in that Lujanbula fight. Maybe the Abu Azaitar win, but Azaitar wasn't the best guy in the UFC. But before that, again, before the Lujanbula fight, Marc-Andre Barriault goes in there and knocks out Azaitar in the third round with about 4 seconds left to go in that fight. This should be a good fight because I think someone's got to get knocked out here. Barriault does throw. He does get tired towards the end of the fight sometimes. But I mean, actually, honestly, I think that's just the Anthony Hernandez fight because of Hernandez, wearing him out and Hernandez eventually getting with the arm triangle. So I actually, that's not a fair assessment of Marc-Andre Barriault. I just think, again, a lot of power on both sides here. Marquez throws, Barriault throws. I would say Barriault does cover up a little bit better than Marquez does because Marquez will kind of just throw with, without any regard for human life, which is, sometimes results in good outcomes for him, sometimes it doesn't. I would also say with Marquez, though, Julian Marquez does have a solid ground game. Of course, you look at the Sam Alvey win. Of course, it was a knockdown that got him to that point, but does take the back and submit Sam Alvey. The Pitolo fight, he's losing. Maki Pitolo does have him on the ground. He's got him on the ground for about 9 minutes of control in that fight. Takes him down 5 times. Does Pitolo against Marquez, but again, Marquez at the end of that fight, with a minute to go, sinks in an anaconda and wins it on a main card of the UFC pay-per-view. Yep, Usman Burns at UFC 258. So that is another element of this fight, Marquez's ground skills. I don't think it's going to hit the mat, though. I think it will be a stand-up affair. I think both these guys are going to throw again. I think someone's getting knocked out, and I think it's going to be the favorite in Barriault getting knocked out, as I'm going to take the underdog. I'm going to take Julian Marquez at plus 105. I think he's going to knock out Marc-Andre Barriault in the first. Again, I think it's going to be crazy for however long it lasts. Of course, Marquez could 100% get knocked out in his own right, but give me Marquez to beat Barriault by first round knockout. Just a really hard fight to pick at 125 pounds. We've got Viviane Araujo taking on Amanda Ribas. It's a really close one for me. It really is. I mean, the odds, again, you got Araujo at plus 110. You got Ribas at minus 130. It's close for me. Because, again, you look at Araujo's last fight. It is against, of course, the title challenger for later tonight in Alexa Grasso. If Araujo won that fight, she'd probably be fighting Valentina this on Saturday night. Of course, Grasso wins the fight, and I think Grasso probably wins every single round. I think the one round that you can give to Araujo would be the fourth, but other than that, I think Alexa Grasso sweeps it. I honestly think she does. I think Grasso wins 50-45. But it was one of those fights, though. It was like, it's not like Grasso, it's not like it was a shutout. It's not like it was one-way traffic. Araujo was throwing back. Of course, it's a 5-round main event in the Apex. Araujo was throwing back. It's just that I think Alexa Grasso beat her to the punch every single time. Grasso was quicker than her. Araujo really couldn't get the fight on the ground all that often, and Alexa Grasso just does enough to win the fight. But that doesn't deny how good Araujo is. I just think it's Alexa Grasso's just a better striker than Viviane Araujo, but I definitely think Alexa Grasso probably outstrikes Amanda Ribas as well, right? So on the feet, I think Araujo's got more power than Amanda Ribas. We haven't even started talking about Ribas just yet, but I think Araujo does have the power advantage. I do like her striking as a whole, and I think if she does have to drag this one to the ground, I think it's going to be tough for her. Because Ribas does have a good wrestling game. Ribas does have a good grappling game. I think it would be tough for her to do so. So I think this fight, honestly, does contest a lot on the feet. Maybe, though, we'll see Amanda Ribas shooting for a takedown. That would be an interesting part of this fight. Or we'll see Araujo shooting for a takedown. Because both of these two, again, in the past, have shown their ability to get the fight down to the ground. And we look at Amanda Ribas' last fight. Very close fight. She loses a split decision to Katlyn Kuchagian. Now, oh, man. The scorecards are really tight on this one. The third round obviously goes to Ribas. The first two, I don't know. I mean, I would give the first round to Kuchagian. I think the second round's the close one, though, because Ribas keeps it competitive on the feet, and she takes down Kuchagian as well. I don't know. But Ribas' wrestling kept her in that fight, and we'll see if it does in this Araujo fight. And we look at the fight before that for Ribas. She beats Vina Janshidova, UFC 267 in Abu Dhabi. She wins it by decision. Good fight. Keeps Janshidova on the feet. If you keep Janshidova on the feet, you'll likely beat her. Loses to Marina Rodriguez before that, of course, on the Poirier-McGregor card. Gets knocked down in the second round. And then before that, you're looking at the Paige Van Zandt victory. You're looking at the Randa Marcos win, the Mackenzie Dern win, the Emily Whitmire win back in 2019. Again, I think Ribas is a little bit quicker on the feet. I think she is. I think her boxing is, I wouldn't say better as a whole, but I think she is quicker. But I think a power advantage does go to Araujo, which makes it really interesting. And I think, again, I don't think Araujo has like levels slower than Ribas either. I think she'll remain very competitive with Ribas. And I think if they're trading back and forth, I think Araujo will be will be quick with her as well. I don't think she's going to like fall behind because she isn't able to produce any volume out there. And I think if they are trading again, I think Araujo is able to do more damage because maybe if she's not landing as much as Ribas is, sure, but she's still, I think the power discrepancy, which still isn't, I don't think all that much, but I think Araujo just does hit harder than Ribas where she is able to inflict more damage. So I think it's a very interesting fight. And then again, there's a whole other element on the ground, which I don't even think it's going to happen, honestly, because I think they are going to balance each other out. I think this fight will just remain contested on the feet. So in a stand-up affair, I'm going to take the underdog here. I'm taking Viviana Araujo here. I'm taking Araujo plus 110. I think Araujo is able to damage Ribas more on the feet. And I think I think the way the judges are going to score this fight, because I do think it's going to go the distance, I think Araujo's damage is going to be more than what Ribas is able to offer. So I think Araujo, again, is going to be able to hurt Ribas more than Ribas is able to hurt Araujo. So give me the underdog here. Give me Viviana Araujo to win here. Get back in the win column with a unanimous decision victory over Amanda Ribas. Now we've got a big fight between Derek Brunson and Dricus du Plessis. I remember originally Derek Brunson said he only had like 2 more fights left in him after the loss to Jared Cannonier. I don't know if that's still a thing, I'll be honest with you. But if it is, then maybe this is his second to last fight. I don't know, but Derek Brunson will be taking on Dricus du Plessis in this one. Brunson, of course, you know what he brings to the table. Really good wrestler. He's going to come there. He's going to try to take you down. He's going to try to hold you down. But, even the Jared Cannonier fight, Brunson knocks down Cannonier, if you recall from that first round. Brunson goes out and wins the first round. He looks really good against Cannonier. Thing is, he gassed really quickly in that second round. It's just like a flip was switched. Oh my goodness. Okay. English is a tough language sometimes. It was like a switch was flipped, and all of a sudden Derek Brunson just kind of stopped throwing punches. He couldn't take a punch, and Jared Cannonier slowly took over and finished him. The corner threw in the towel, but it was too late. Kerry Hatley stopped the fight, and Jared Cannonier got the number 1 contenders, or won the title eliminator. Of course, ended up losing to Adesanya, but that's besides the point, right? Brunson does, though, go out there and win that first round, but he tired very quickly in that fight. His fights for that, though, he was on a big 5-fight winning streak. Beats the likes of the late Elias Theodorou, Ian Heinich, Edmund Shabazian, Kevin Holland, and Darren Till. The last 3 being really good wins. Shabazian, a main event fight where he finished him in the 3rd round. The Holland fight, main event, beats him by decision. The Till fight, main event, submits him in the 3rd round. You know what Derek Brunson comes out to do. He comes out to wrestle you. He comes out to get you on the ground, and he's going to try to ground and pound you or just ride out to a decision. But he's taking on a guy here who's undefeated in the UFC, 4-0. I've picked him in every single fight so far. My guy, Dricus du Plessis, undefeated. The South African fighter is in the UFC, 18-2. And man, du Plessis has been on fire recently. You look at the Darren Till win. He looks pretty good in that fight. I mean, it's the wrestling early at a du Plessis that wins him the first. The second round, though, Darren Till does come back, wins that second round. Striking, you're thinking, oh, maybe that's the turning point of this fight. Maybe Till's going to win it. No, in the 3rd round, du Plessis takes him down immediately, gets the neck crank, and Dricus du Plessis wins the fight. Du Plessis does have a pretty good gas tank, because again, after that second round against Till, I was thinking, man, guess Darren Till's gonna come back and win this fight, but no, du Plessis comes back and gets the submission. You look at the Brad Tavares fight; it is constant output out of Dricus du Plessis, because in that 3rd round, man, du Plessis turns it on. He looks really good in that fight, winning that one 29-28. Before that, the Trevin Giles win, where he knocks him out in the 2nd round. The Marcus Perez win. It was a fight that du Plessis admittedly said he was nervous for, but comes back in the 1st round. I mean, he was just kind of hesitant in that 1st round. Still wins the 1st round up until the knockout, and of course knocks out Marcus Perez in that 1st round. But du Plessis, undefeated so far in the UFC. He can get it done on the feet, and he can get it done on the ground as well. And this is why I think it's a very tough matchup for Derek Brunson. I don't think Brunson's going to be able to bully him on the ground. I think du Plessis is going to be able to keep this fight standing, and Brunson's not going to be able to repeatedly shoot for takedowns. I don't think Brunson's going to repeatedly be able to hold du Plessis down. I think du Plessis will be able to get back up to his feet, even if the fight does end up on the ground, because I think du Plessis' takedown defense is really good. I mean, of course, I think his offensive wrestling is just a little bit better, but Duplessis does, and he can threaten with submissions as well, but I just don't think Brunson's going to be able to, A, take Duplessis down, and B, hold Duplessis down. And if he can't do that, Duplessis is very, against Darren Till, again, he was losing on the feet. But Darren Till can strike with the best of them. Darren Till, no matter what's happening to him right now in his downward spell, it looks like he will be out of the top 15 with Brendan Allen beating Andre Muniz. Till's still a very good striker. And yes, he was outstriking Duplessis for most of that fight when the fight was contested on the feet. But on the ground, again, that's where Duplessis won. But in this fight, and this is why Duplessis is so good, Duplessis doesn't have to just one-dimensionally wrestle with Derek Brunson. He can strike with Brunson as well, which obviously is something that he should do against a guy like Derek Brunson. And he can beat Derek Brunson on the feet. I think he's going to have a lot of success striking with Derek Brunson, and I think eventually he's going to put away Brunson. I'm going to say second round knockout here for Dricus Duplessis. I don't think Brunson's able to take him down, and if he is, Brunson will have a good first round, and just like the Cannonier fight, I think he's going to waste his energy, and I think in the second round, Dricus Duplessis is going to work the body a little bit, and he's going to work up, and I think Dricus Duplessis is going to put away Derek Brunson. There's a reason Duplessis at minus 240. He's a big favorite over the UFC vet in Brunson, and I think Dricus Duplessis keeps on adding to this UFC run, 5-0, and seriously, after this, we are looking probably, I think, at a fight with Jared Cannonier next for Dricus Duplessis, and if he beats Cannonier, there is a realistic possibility, or even hell, maybe you give him Robert Whittaker after this. There is a serious possibility if Dricus Duplessis wins his next fight, he is in line for a world championship fight. And I'm just saying, if you give this guy Alex Pereira right now, he likely beats him. I'm just saying, matchup-wise, he likely beats Pereira, but you can say that with a lot of guys in this weight class. Probably say that about Derek Brunson, if I'm being honest. You can say that with Robert Whittaker. I'm not saying they do it, but they definitely have a chance. Anyways, give me Dricus Duplessis to beat Derek Brunson. He's going to get it done by second round knockout finish. Okay, the featured prelim. No Love is back. Cody Garbrandt is taking on Trevin 5-Star Jones. This is a fight that Cody Garbrandt should not lose. A former world champion in Cody Garbrandt, who was once considered the quickest striker in all the game and the most powerful boxer at 135, should not lose to a fighter who is 1-3 in the UFC. But let's be honest, guys, this is make or break for Cody Garbrandt in the UFC. It is, because you look at the losing skid, right? He's lost 5 out of his last 6. You look at the guys he's lost to: Dillashaw, Munoz. He beats to Sun Tzu, lose to Rob Font, lose to Kai Kara France. Those are big names. I mean, Dillashaw's fought for a world championship. Pedro Munoz has been in the top 5 for a while. Sun Tzu was a guy who was a fight away from the championship fight. Rob Font was in a spot recently against Chito Vera where if he won, you're maybe looking at him fighting for a world championship. Kai Kara France has fought in a world championship fight. You go from these guys to he was booked against Hani Yahya twice, which honestly is a fight I really want to see for Garbrandt because I didn't see a way in hell he would lose that fight. Because I think he'd be able to keep it standing against Hani Yahya and knock out Hani Yahya. Anyways, doesn't get it. Julio Arce, and now Trevin Jones. I think Arce is definitely a much tougher fight than Trevin Jones's. I'm glad that his fight is not happening just because, again, I want to see Cody Garbrandt when I know Arce is coming off that loss to Montel Jackson at UFC 281. But still, this is the fight that Garbrandt should win. Garbrandt should not lose this fight to Trevin 5-Star Jones. Trevin Jones, a guy, if you're not familiar, 1-3 so far in the UFC, does have a no contest, though. He did start for the winner against Timur Valiev, where he beats Valiev, he finishes him in the second round. Valiev gets tired, and Jones hits him with a big right hook and finishes him and puts him down. However, Trevin Jones popped for marijuana. Now, again, if that happened now, it wouldn't have mattered. It still would have been a win. Back then, though, in 2020, you couldn't be on weed or whatever. Now you can. Anyways, he's technically 2-3 in the promotion, but, statistically, he's 1-3. Anyways, he beats Mario Bautista after that. Probably his best win. I mean, that actually counts because the big lead uppercut that puts down Mario Bautista. He wins. He's got all the momentum in the world. I believe he's a favorite. Yes, he's a favorite over Saijakub Karamov. Yes, that Saijakub Karamov. I know he just lost Said Nurmagomedov, but still, really good fighter in Karamov, and he loses, obviously. But it's still a fight where Jones wasn't doing all that bad against Karamov. He beats him in the first round. He likely takes a second to close second round. He's winning the third, and then Karamov catches him on a guillotine. And then after that, Trevin Jones runs into Javid Basharat. He loses by unanimous decision. And then it's complete one-way traffic in the Hani Barcelos fight. I mean, you're looking at a 30-25 is what Junichiro Kamijo gives Hani Barcelos in that fight because it's just one-sided. I mean, significant strike count, 73-11 in favor of Hani Barcelos. Now you get Garbrandt and Jones. This is completely dependent on one thing. Someone's going to get knocked out. That's how this fight is going to go. I don't think this one goes the distance. I don't think it is. Unless Garbrandt fights really patiently and doesn't over pursue and just makes sure he doesn't get hit and stays on the outside and wins a technical striking fight, which is something, again, I will say that I think Garbrandt can do if he needs to, which, again, he's in a spot where he has to win to stay in the UFC. Because if he loses, he's going to be in the PFL, or he's going to be fighting in Bellator against Ralphie and Stotts in his next fight, or they're going to match him up with Danny Sabatello or something, right? He's got to win this fight. Or hell, he'll be boxing or whatever. They'll go box Le'Veon Bell or something, right? Or box Roy Jones Jr., the winner of Roy Jones Jr. and Anthony Pettis, right? He's got to win this fight. And if he does, he's in the spot. Maybe he does fight this fight really carefully, stays on the outside, just uses his kicks, because Garbrandt does have good kicks and doesn't get any danger with Trevin Jones, because take away the chins. Cody Garbrandt's a way better striker than Trevin Jones. However, Cody Garbrandt, again, leaves his chin up in the air, and he is definitely exposed to getting hit. Trevin Jones will hit him hard, okay? Again, I know he's on a 3-fight losing streak. He's an underdog in this fight, but Trevin Jones will hit Cody Garbrandt hard. Garbrandt's going to get hit in this fight. It's a matter of if he can take it or not. He has not had a fight since 2021. It's been 15 months. The chin is completely healed, and this is why I like the Honey Yaya fight, because Honey Yaya is not going to knock him out. It wouldn't happen, okay? If Honey Yaya knocked out Cody Garbrandt, I'd come on here and I'd eat my shoe, okay? It's not happening, right? Cody Garbrandt versus Trevin Jones, he can get hit, he can get knocked out, but man, striking-wise and just pure striking, Cody Garbrandt's a way better striker than Trevin Jones, and he should knock him out. Will he, though? Again, you give him time, he's going to. It's purely a matter of, can Cody Garbrandt land and knock out Trevin Jones before Trevin Jones lands and knocks out Cody Garbrandt? I'm willing to say it'll be the first option. I think No Love gets back in the win column, and Cody Garbrandt is going to knock out Trevin Jones in the first round. I think it's going to be something like the Sunset win, maybe not the buzzer, but that same sort of spectacular type knockout to get Cody No Love Garbrandt back in the win column. No Love's going to win, first round knockout. Hopefully he can get back on the winning track. I'd like to see him, honestly, against Honey Yaya next. Next up, we've got Bo Nickal taking on Jamie Pickett. Yes, Bo Nickal is a minus 1,400 favorite in this fight, and it's for a very good reason. I mean, I don't see a world where Bo Nickal does not win this fight. Nothing against Jamie Pickett. This is a guy who's had 6 fights in the UFC, but in all fairness, the man is 2-4 in the promotion. He's got losses to the likes of Tafon Chukwi. He's got a loss to Jordan Wright. Both of those men, I don't think, is Chukwi still in the UFC? I know Jordan Wright's not in the UFC. Tafon Chukwi, I don't believe is no longer in the promotion. Actually, no, I think he is. I think Chukwi's still there, even though he's 2-3. Anyways, he lost to Tafon Chukwi, lost to Jordan Wright, beat Laureano Staropoli, beat Joe Holmes, which is probably his best win, I would think, by far. Lost to Kyle Dawkins, lost to Dennis Tululin in his last fight, UFC 279 at Diaz versus Ferguson, where he got knocked out in the second round. It was a fight that he got knocked down twice in, but let's be honest, none of that matters. What matters in this fight is if he can stuff takedowns from Bo Nickal. Obviously, the answer is going to be no. When we look at the guys who've been able to take down Jamie Pickett in the past, we're looking at Punahele Soriano. We're looking at even Laureano Staropoli. We're looking at Kyle Dawkins, who's able to do it 3 times in 1 round and take his back and submit him with the Darce choke, right? Jamie Pickett has been taken down multiple times in his career in the UFC, and now you're taking on maybe the best wrestler to ever do it here in the middleweight division. Bo Nickal is seriously that good. I mean, there's a reason he is in this spot. There's a reason he should have been signed to the UFC after his second pro fight. They made him go fight in the Contender again, and he won. He's 3-0. Bo Nickal is going to run right through Jamie Pickett. It is not going to be a competition. It's just not going to be. Bo Nickal, immediate takedown, submission, fight over. I would set the over-under for this fight to be a half a round. I don't know if it goes over that. Again, considering the success that a guy who, Kyle Dawkins, nothing against the man, but Kyle Dawkins, I don't believe he's no longer in the UFC after his loss to Eric Anders. I believe he's testing free agency. All right. Kyle Dawkins had some big fights. He was in a co-main event spot against Kevin Holland. The man went 2-4 in the UFC, and he was able to take down and submit Jamie Pickett at will in under a round. What is Bo Nickal going to do? I mean, one of the greatest wrestlers ever in Bo Nickal. What is he going to do to Jamie Pickett? It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a takedown. It's going to be immediately. Nickal's probably going to either go for an arm triangle. He's going to look for a naked choke if Pickett gives up his back trying to get back up. It's going to be complete domination for Nickal. I think it's going to be a submission. I could see definitely a knockout, a TKO finish for Pickett on the ground. Or, sorry, not for Pickett. for Nickal on the ground as well, but I'm going to go with the submission. This is a very easy fight for Bo Nickal. They probably will fast track him to the championship because what Nickal says about how he could beat the middleweight champion right now in the UFC is probably true. You match him up against Alex Pereira, he likely wins right now. But again, matchup-wise, does he beat Robert Whittaker? Does he beat Israel Adesanya? Does he beat Jared Cannonier? Does he beat Paulo Costa? Does he beat Sean Strickland? I don't know, right? I mean, those are fights that are definitely winnable for him. Do you want to say, like, do you want to say, like, it's an automatic, like, he's going to win? Like, honestly, I think he would against Pereira. I don't know. But give me Bo Nickal to beat Jamie Pickett. I don't think it's close. I think it's one-way traffic. Bo Nickal goes to 1-0 in the UFC, 4-0 professionally, with a first-round submission victory over Jamie Pickett. What a fight here that could produce, honestly, crazy results. We've got Mateusz Gamrot taking on Jalen Turner, and the Tarantula is back, originally supposed to take on Dan Hooker on this night. It was a fight that I think Jalen Turner was going to win. I think he was going to beat Dan Hooker. This one's interesting, though, with Gamrot. Gamrot is coming on this fight with a little bit, kind of short notice, even though I think he had like 3 weeks to prepare for this. So Gamrot, Turner, man, it's a close fight. Because both these guys are just good everywhere, really. I mean, you look at Mateusz Gamrot, you look at his UFC run, you ignore the loss to Guram Kutateladze. That's a fight that Gamrot wins. No one thought Gamrot lost that fight, but we ignored that. Go to the Scott Holtzman fight. He knocks out Holtzman in the second round. You look at the Jeremy Stevens fight, takes down Stevens right away. Kimura fight over. The Diego Ferreira fight, dominating on the feet. I wouldn't say dominating on the feet, but gets him to the ground at multiple points in the fight. It's that weird knee to the back of Ferreira. Ferreira, says no mas, and Mateusz Gamrot wins the fight that way. That was not. I know he's Portuguese. I know he speaks Portuguese. Fights Arman Tsarukyan after that, and Mateusz Gamrot beats Arman Tsarukyan in a main event spot. Really good fight, but again, it was Gamrot's wrestling that really won him that fight at multiple points in close rounds. It was the one takedown or the two takedowns that Gamrot was able to secure in the third and fourth and fifth that probably just put him over the edge in those rounds. And then you look at his last fight, it is a very tough fight against Beneil Dariush, and Beneil Dariush proved why he is potentially next for the world championship. If he beats Charles Oliveira, Beneil Dariush would be like, we'll be fighting for a world title next. It was a fight that, yes, Gamrot probably won the first, lost the second. The third, it was all Dariush, though, taking over that fight, really going with the striking. Gamrot really just couldn't take down Dariush in that third round, and Beneil picks up the victory. For Jalen Turner, you look at the UFC run through the win streak after his loss to Matt Frevola. It's a win against Josh Kalibauer. He knocks him out in the second round. It's a Brock Weaver, a second round submission. And then it's a win over Eros Medic by rear naked choke. It's a win over Jamie Mullerkey by second round TKO. And then it's a submission win over Bri Riddell in his last fight in the first round in 45 seconds on UFC 276. Well, these guys are just good everywhere. Jalen Turner's the guy who barely gets taken down. It's very hard to take down Jalen Turner. The last guy that was able to do it at will was Matt Frevola, but that was the last time Turner lost all the way back in Atlanta in 2019. But Gamrot is going to shoot for those takedowns. Gamrot is going to pressure, and he is going to, he is going to put it on Jalen Turner through the wrestling, and he's going to try and mix up on the feet as well, which makes it such an interesting fight because Jalen Turner has a lot of power for being a 155 pounder. The guy is 6'3" at 155. He is a huge lightweight who has big power at the weight class, which makes just, again, such an interesting fight. Of course, you got Gamrot, who I think is going to probably work the legs a lot. He's probably going to work the body a lot in this fight with Turner. I don't know if Gamrot's going to be able to get a finish on the feet, but I think he's definitely going to do a lot of damage up there. Again, such an interesting fight. You got Gamrot at -170. You got the Tarantula and Turner at +145. Got to make a pick, though. I'm taking Mateusz Gamrot. I think Gamrot's going to win. I think it's close. I think the odds should honestly be closer than this. I know the odds are close as they are, but they should be even closer. I'm going to barely take Mateusz Gamrot. I think Gamrot is able to switch it up. I think he's able to do just enough like he does in the Tsarukyan fight. I think Gamrot does just enough in the feet, mixes it up with the wrestling, maybe gets that one takedown around, finishes the round like he did against Tsarukyan, finishes the round with the takedown, finishes the round with him in top position, which again makes that look very good in the judges' eyes, because I think this is going to be a razor-thin close fight. It is going to be a very close fight between these two, and again, it's going to be dependent on those tough moments and those close moments at the end of rounds where if Gamrot's able to secure a takedown or not, and I think he's going to be able to. I think Turner's going to stuff a lot of takedowns out of Gamrot too, but I think Gamrot is going to be able to find a way to get Turner on the ground, and it's going to, push him over the edge on some scorecards. So that's why I think Mateusz Gamrot is going to win by unanimous decision. On the feet, I think it's ever so close. I think that's on the feet, either guy could have the advantage. But again, I think that ground game and the, just the fight IQ out of Gamrot at the end of rounds is going to put him over the top. So give me the gamer, Mateusz Gamrot, to go to 5-2 in the UFC, getting back in the win column with a win over the Tarantula, Jalen Turner. And Shavkat Rakhmonov's back. He'll be taking on Jeff Neal here. Rakhmonov coming in at a -500 favorite for Jeff Neal, +400. It is an incredible fight, though. It is by far Rakhmonov's toughest fight to date. It is definitely, I think, a tougher fight than the Neal Magny fight, even though I know Neal Magny beat Jeff Neal, but you look at what Jeff Neal did to Vicente Luque. That is by far the best Jeff Neal we have seen to date. Jeff Neal puts it on Vicente Luque. He takes a lot of damage in that fight. He gives out a lot of damage in that fight, too. And, a back and forth fight. You look at the striking numbers in that fight, 121 to 97 in favor of the significant strike count for Jeff Neal. Knocks down Luque in the first, knocks him down in the third, where eventually he does get that finish. This is a great fight. I mean, it is a great fight because Jeff Neal looks so good in that fight, and Jeff Neal did look good in the Ponzinibbio fight. I think it was a close fight. I think you give the nod barely to Jeff Neal, but I can definitely see it for Ponzinibbio as well. It was just that really good third round. I mean, I know that Jeff Neal did have to push him over the top in that fight, but Jeff Neal's last two fights, he's looked really good. I mean, he does have a loss to Wonder Boy back in 2020. He's got the loss to Neal Magny as well. But really, Neal's striking has been on point in his last two fights. And it's the point where his striking is going to be really competitive with Shavkat Rakhmonov. But again, Rakhmonov's got the ground game. And Rakhmonov has been pretty much untouchable down there so far in his career. He's been able to get it done on the feet. You look at the Carlston Harris fight where he's spinning back kicks him and wins the fight that way. But he's also able to get the fight done on the ground too. You look at the Neal Magny fight where he takes Magny down, gets him with a guillotine. And I think that's definitely the strategy that Rakhmonov's going to have in this fight with Jeff Neal. I don't think he's going to play around on the feet, which I think Rakhmonov, if he was forced to just straight up kickbox with Jeff Neal, I think it would be an interesting fight. I think Rakhmonov would definitely have a chance. Obviously, I think he'd have a very good chance of winning the fight, but I'd also give a very good chance of Jeff Neal winning that fight too. But it's the threat of the ground game is just going to change this fight. You look at what Rakhmonov did against Magny. Rakhmonov didn't really play around the feet with Magny, and Magny's not a guy who has got crazy power. Magny's known for, let's be honest, winning decisions up on the feet. He's a good striker, but he doesn't have the most power. Rakhmonov didn't even play around with that. He just took down Magny because it was open for him. He shot 2 takedowns, he got both of them. The fight lasted 9 minutes and 50 seconds. The man had 9 minutes and 10 seconds of control time. That's how good Shavkat Rakhmonov is. He's going to take you down, and you are not going to get back up. That's what he did to Magny in the first round. He wasn't able to get that submission in the first, but in the second, again, at the end of that round, locked in the guillotine with 2 seconds left in the round, Shavkat wins the fight. It's that ground game which is just going to make it tough for Jeff Neal. Again, I think Jeff Neal, if he can keep it standing, and this is a big if, but if Jeff Neal can stuff the takedowns and Jeff Neal can keep Shavkat Rakhmonov on the feet, he is going to have a chance. But it's not even like that where it's an automatic where he's gonna beat Rakhmonov on the feet, because Rakhmonov is very good striking wise. Again, go watch the Carlston Harris fight if you forget how good Shavkat is striking wise. He's good up there. I mean, even the Prazeres fight, even though it is, he does take him down, but Rakhmonov can get it done up there too. And again, I say it all the time. Shavkat Rakhmonov is, this guy could be, on the Khamzat level, the hype that Khamzat's got, Shavkat Rakhmonov should be on that level too. And I think the hype for Khamzat has definitely died down. He's not going to fight, I think, to the fall now. So definitely, I think the hype for Khamzat has died down from what it once was. Let's be honest, it has. And maybe he's going to fight middleweight next, I don't know. But Shavkat Rakhmonov is everything you thought Khamzat Chimaev was going to be. I think that's a very fair assessment. And again, Khamzat's very good. He beat Gilbert Burns. He's a very good fighter. But in terms of activity and staying in there, because again, don't forget, Shavkat was booked in January too. This guy's taken a slower path up to the top. But Shavkat's been all that dominant. He's Khamzat without the trash talk and without all the hype, right? Rakhmonov is very good, and this is just another step in his progression, probably to the top 5. Give me Shavkat Rakhmonov to beat Jeff Neal. He's going to get it done with the takedown in the first. He's not going to get the submission in the first, similar to the Neal Magny fight. He'll wait to the second, and in that second round, he's going to submit Jeff Neal. Shavkat Rakhmonov at minus 500 goes to 5-0 in the UFC and remains undefeated at 17-0. Shavkat Rakhmonov submits Jeff Neal, and he gets it done in the second round. Valentina Shevchenko is back, and she'll be taking on Alexa Grasso here in her next title defense. And let's be honest, Shevchenko's last fight, it wasn't great. I think a lot of people thought she lost. I mean, maybe if the eye poke doesn't happen, maybe Valentina does lose that fight. Now, Shevchenko wins the fight. She wins it 3-2. I think she won it. But it's a closer fight than a lot of people would have thought against a fighter like Taila Santos. And it showed at the time, because no one really thought Taila Santos had a chance, that Valentina now, I think, is very beatable. I think she is. I think Shevchenko is very beatable, considering the potential challengers in this weight class. Now, I'll tell you who she's not going to have problems with. Like, you break down the top, I mean, this might give away my prediction, but I feel like this one's pretty obvious, even though, again, minus 600 favorite, but let's break down the top, 10-ish of the weight class and who realistically has a chance of beating Valentina Shevchenko. Taila Santos, maybe. Aaron Blanchfield, 100% yes. Manon Fiorot, I'll be honest with you, I don't think so. Kaden Kuchagan, obviously, no. Grasso, no. Andrade, no. Lauren Murphy, no. Jennifer Maya, no. Araujo, no. Casey O'Neill, depends. We'll see. We'll see what we get out of Casey O'Neill, right? I don't think so, though. Okay, there's really two fighters I think that could be Valentina. I think they should be fighting next. Taila Santos and Aaron Blanchfield. Actually, Blanchfield's probably going to fight for Taila next. Santos probably fight Fiorot next. Anyways, I think Shevchenko is very beatable. I don't think it's this fight, though. I don't think she's going to lose to Alexa Grasso. And this is why. I think Valentina's better everywhere. Grasso, her striking looked really good in the Araujo fight, but let's be honest, Shevchenko's a better striker than Alexa Grasso. She is. She's a better striker than her. I think Grasso is one of the best strikers in the weight class, but Valentina is obviously the best striker in the weight class. And I think the way to beat Valentina is likely you got to mix it up a lot. And I know Grasso, again, the win over Joanne Wood was good on the ground where she submitted her, but let's not forget, Joanne Wood was having a little bit of success in the feed against Grasso before that happened. And Grasso, again, Joanne Wood cannot stuff a takedown to save her life. We'll see how she fights Luana Carolina, I believe she's fighting next month in London. But it was an obvious game plan for Alexa Grasso, and she took advantage of it, and she won the fight, obviously. But now you give her Valentina. Again, her striking's really good. She's got a lot of volume. Grasso can go for days. That's something that, even her 3-round fights, like the Jillian Kim fight, a lot of strikes thrown in that one. The Karolina Kowalkiewicz fight, a lot of strikes thrown in that. Grasso is going to put it on you with the striking. She's going to be in your face. But does she want to be in the face of Valentina Shevchenko, though? I don't think so, right? I know Valentina, again, I'll be honest, I think she's very beatable right now at this point, but it's not this fight, because Valentina is going to put a masterclass striking performance on Alexa Grasso. She is going to hit Grasso a lot. Grasso's got a good chin, though. I'm not going to lie, I think Grasso's got a really good chin. And I think she's going to be able to withstand a lot of this damage that Valentina is going to throw back her way, but does she really have a chance at winning this fight? Because to beat Valentina, you're gonna have to. It's just in any dominant champion, you're gonna have to have a lot of power to shock them with the big power shot that puts them down, right? Grasso, as a good of a striker as she is, she doesn't have the power to one punch put down Valentina. Not many fighters at 125 have that, with maybe the exception of Jessica Andrade, but Aaron Blanchfield and Lauren Murphy kind of just withstood both of the damage in the and the striking game that Jessica Andrade put on both of them. I know she destroyed Lauren Murphy and didn't Aaron Blanchfield, but still, right? Valentina's going to beat Alexa Grasso here. She'll get it done pretty convincingly. I think it's going to be a 50-45 unanimous decision victory. Now, the question is, what does Valentina do next? I think it's definitely a fight against Aaron Blanchfield, where I think it's a tough fight, where I think Aaron Blanchfield's going to put her in a tough spot, and I really want to see that fight. But that's in the future, and of course, they're always going to talk about Valentina versus Amanda Nunes, but that was when Valentina had no contenders at 125. Amanda Nunes, sure, has no contenders at 135. She's in a weight class where it's basically just her. I think she should be, if I had to make a next fight, I think she should fight Juliana Pena next. I don't think it makes sense for her to fight Raquel Pennington, because we've already done that, and I think Juliana is a fight that can A, make the most money, and B, I think Juliana's got the best chance to beat Amanda. So I think that should be next for Nunes. So yeah, Nunes doesn't have challengers, but Valentina sure does now. Even if she does get through Blanchfield, you still got Santos again, and you got Manon Fiorot, and then in the future, if Casey O'Neill can keep winning, you got her as well. All right, Alexa Grasso, again, it's a difficult fight. It's a difficult fight for most people in this weight class, for most fighters in this weight class. I don't think it is for Valentina. I think Valentina's, again, just much quicker than Grasso, and Grasso's quick, but I think Valentina's quicker. I think Valentina's got more power, so Valentina's able to put more damage onto Alexa Grasso, and Valentina Shevchenko is able to retain the world championship minus 600. Give me the champion, the bullet. Valentina Shevchenko wins, and she's pretty decisive in doing so. Beats Alexa Grasso 50-45 by unanimous decision to retain the flyweight championship. Main event time. Oh my goodness, what a fight. It is for the heavyweight championship. Jon Jones, the greatest fighter of all time, taking on Ciryl Gane. Well, the greatest of all time gets thrown around a lot. We'll talk about that later. But Jon Jones, Ciryl Gane for the world championship. It is a tremendous fight. Because I remember last year, before UFC 270, Ngannou, Gane, I said Ciryl Gane, and I stand by this statement, is the greatest striker to ever fight in UFC heavyweight history. Just all-around striking, with his kicks, with his punches. I think he is the best striker to ever do it. And I still think he is. I think Ciryl Gane is by far the best striker to ever do it. You look at the Francis Ngannou fight, Ciryl Gane beats Francis Ngannou on the feet. If that's a kickboxing fight, Gane's on his way to win. People forget this, and I think people forget the way that Ciryl Gane Francis Ngannou fight went. And Gane wins the first 2 rounds, and I think it's pretty obvious. The 3rd round, Ngannou wins. He wins it because he gets a takedown in the 3rd. It's a close round, nothing much happens. The 4th round, Gane's beating Ngannou on the feet. It's just Ngannou takes him down. And the 5th round, it is... I really thought Gane was going to beat Ngannou going in that fight. I really thought he was going to. But this is the fight where I cannot forgive Fernand Lopez for what he told Ciryl Gane at the end of the 4th round. And I know you want to tell your fighter to motivate him to look for the finish, but in a fight like this, in a world championship fight against Francis Ngannou, why are you telling your guy you're down 3-1? Or you're down, why are you telling him he's down 3-1? He wasn't down 3-1 against Ngannou. The scorecards, Sal Diamato's stupid and he had it wrong, but McCarthy and Cleary both had it 2-2 going into the 5th. Ciryl Gane, all he's got to do is to win that 5th round, he's going to win the fight. Now, again, he couldn't stuff a takedown from Francis Ngannou, and that's something that we're going to talk about very soon. We're going to talk about that. But, trust me, it's going to come up. But, Ciryl Gane takes down Ngannou before Ngannou can take Gane down in the 5th round. Gane takes him down, center of the octagon, 4 minutes to go. He's got him there. All Gane's got to do is sit on top. He is going to become the world champion. Ciryl Gane is going to win the fight. He's going to beat Francis Ngannou. But he pulls for a heel hook. It's the same heel hook he executed against Don'Tale Mayes, who Don'Tale Mayes just looked horrible in his fight against Augusto Sakai last night. But it was that same heel hook. Again, middle of the octagon. Both guys are sweaty. It's the 5th round. Gane pulls for it. He slips, and Ngannou slips out, goes on top, and Ngannou rides out top for the rest of the round. That's it. Ngannou wins the fight 3-2. Fernand Lopez doesn't tell Ciryl Gane he needs a finish because he specifically told him in the corner, again, French translation, but he tells him, you need a finish. You got to go out there and you got to finish this guy in the 5th round. Gane does exactly what he's told to do. He goes for a takedown. He thought his best way to finish the fight was through a takedown and a submission. It likely was in that sort of fight because you just don't want to go for it against Ngannou because you're probably going to get clipped and caught. Again, Gane is such a good striker. He's such a smart striker. He's got a really good fight IQ, and he's not going to, fall right into a big power shot of one of his opponents. He made a small mistake against Tai Tuivasa. We're going to talk about that soon. He made a small mistake against Tai, but again, Ciryl Gane goes in there against Ngannou. He pulls for a heel hook and doesn't get it. He did what he was told, but if Gane doesn't do that, he wins the fight. He's the world champion. And maybe we get Jon Jones and Ciryl Gane a lot sooner than what we're getting at right now. It's okay, though. Gane comes back in Paris. He beats Tai Tuivasa. It is a very one-sided fight with the exception of the knockdown. If it wasn't for the knockdown, it's one-way traffic. But Tai Tuivasa, again, throws huge shots. He doesn't care. He can eat all this damage, but he'll still throw a big overhand right, and that's what he did. He put down Ciryl Gane in the 2nd round. But what that showed, because that's the most damage Ciryl Gane has ever taken, and albeit it wasn't very much. I know Volkov hit him a lot, but Tai Tuivasa hits a lot harder than what Alexander Volkov's going to throw. And Derek Lewis didn't even hit Ciryl Gane because Gane was just in and out with his striking, which, again, he's so good at, especially against slower guys like Derek Lewis and Tai Tuivasa. But Tuivasa sits him down, but Gane gets right back up. It is a huge shot that likely puts down every other guy in the weight class, but Ciryl Gane pops right back up to his feet, and he keeps on striking with him. It showed you Ciryl Gane can take a punch. Ciryl Gane can take damage. Ciryl Gane can eat big shots like that, especially from a guy like Tuivasa, because not many guys hit harder than Tai Tuivasa in the weight class. I can think of 3, maybe 2. Derek Lewis, that's the one I'm like, Sergey Pavlovich, and Francis Ngannou. But Ngannou's not even in the UFC anymore, so Pavlovich, and that's it. And Pavlovich's going to fight Curtis Blades. I don't know why it's in the Apex. Apex is ridiculous, but anyways, that's an interesting fight, which likely will not be a number 1 contenders fight because there's another guy in this weight class who's probably going to be the winner of this fight. Again, we have lots to talk about later, and that's what we'll talk about later. But it showed you Ciryl Gane can take a punch, and it showed you how good Ciryl Gane is because he can stand through that, and he can come back later in that 2nd round and the 3rd round and beat Tai Tuivasa and finish him. Gane works the body so well. He works his leg kicks so well. He works every spot. And it's just, Gane's so good. His striking is very talented. But he's taken on Jon Jones. And he's taken on maybe the greatest to ever do it. And we haven't seen Jones in 3 years. It'll be over 3 years since we last saw him. And when we last saw him, it was in a fight where a lot of people thought he lost. A lot of people thought he lost to Dominic Reyes. I don't think he did. I think he beat Reyes. I think he loses the first 2 rounds. I think he wins 3, 4, 5. I think it's close. You can make the case for 1, 3, 4, 5 for Jon too. I can definitely see the first round going for Jones as well. But he comes back and he wins the fight. The wrestling does it for Jones. He needs just enough. Now, Dominic Reyes has not been the same guy since. Dominic Reyes has not won a fight since he lost to Jon Jones, which is concerning. In the fight before that for Jones, he's got a very close fight against Thiago Santos. It is the only fight where a judge has scored the fight not for Jon Jones. It was Camijo scored it for Thiago Santos. The first time where a fight hasn't all been scored for Jones. One judge actually thought Thiago Santos beat Jon Jones. That's ridiculous. Jon Jones won that fight. That one's not that close, okay? That one's a 4-1 for Jones. Jones drops the first round, he wins the rest. That one's not that's not a tough one to score. The Reyes one I get, but Jones Santos is not that close to a fight, let's be honest. Rewatch that fight, is not that close, right? We'll see what Jon Jones we get. Because again, you don't know. You don't know what Jon Jones is going to show up because he hasn't fought in 3 years. He's going to weigh 50 more pounds than what we last saw him. Right? Jon is not the same fighter that he was a light heavyweight. This is a heavyweight Jon Jones and a heavyweight Jon Jones that we have been thinking that we were going to get since he head kicked Daniel Cormier in 2017. This has been 6 years in the making at Jon Jones and heavyweight. It's finally happening. But again, Jon took his time getting up to heavyweight. He put on the weight. He didn't just, put on weight, just by Daniel Cormier style. Respect to DC, I like the guy. But, he built muscle and he got back up to 255. It depends on how Jon Jones looks, though. I don't know. Is Jones going to be quick here? You don't know what Jon Jones you're going to get. Is Jon Jones going to be the same guy? Is he going to have the same striking? And also, how does Jon Jones approach this fight? How does Jon Jones approach Ciryl Gane? Because you know what Jon Jones does. Jon got to the point at light heavyweight where he was so good. He was dominating all these guys. He would try to beat, these guys at their specialties, right? You look at the first example I can think of is a Chael Sonnen fight. Jon Jones won to Chael Sonnen, right? Or even, hell, when he beat Belfort, right? When he submitted Vitor, he tried to take down Vitor, he tried to grapple with Vitor, and he submitted him. But the Chael Sonnen one was like, yeah, Jon Jones try to out-wrestle Chael Sonnen, the American gangster, who's one of the greatest, fighters of all time, obviously undefeated. We know all that. But still, he tried to out Chael Sonnen. He said that in the post-fight interview, right? And he did. The fight that he had against DC, he tried to take down DC. Of course, he won on the feet as well. The first fight I'm talking about. Thiago Santos, he tried to out Muay Thai Thiago Santos because he got to that point of his career where Jon Jones was trying to create obstacles and challenges for himself because he was just so much better than all these guys. Something, though, that's different in this fight, and Jon has said it himself, he wasn't afraid of his opponents in the past. And none of his opponents have ever scared him until Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane actually poses a threat to him, and Ciryl Gane is an interesting fight for him that, again, he sees danger in this fight with Gane, which he should, because Ciryl Gane's that good. So I don't think, and again, I hope he doesn't do this, if you're backing Jon Jones, I don't think Jon Jones is going to try to outstrike Ciryl Gane. I don't think he's going to do that same thing that he's done in the past with some of these specialists where he just tries to beat them at their own game. I don't think he's going to play around in this. There's been one time where you have seen a Jon Jones where he's been dead focused on what he's going to do. It was the Alexander Gustafsson fight, the second one. I don't know if it was because Jon, felt danger in fighting Gustafsson. I don't know, maybe because of the first fight. Obviously, Gustafsson, since the second Jon Jones fight, has not been the same, obviously. But you look at that fight, and you look at the way Jon gets that takedown in the third round, and the way Jon absolutely ground pounds the hell out of Alexander Gustafsson in that third round, he wins the fight. That's a different Jon Jones. And that's the Jon Jones that needs to show up to beat Ciryl Gane. He's not going to outstrike Gane. He's going to remain competitive on the feet, but eventually he will get finished by Gane on the feet by the third or the fourth round. If Jon Jones strikes a Ciryl Gane, Gane will finish him, or Gane will win a decision. I don't think Jon's able to outstrike Gane. But if he takes Ciryl Gane down, it is right there for him. I don't know how Gane's going to beat him on the ground. Because again, if Francis Ngannou's able to take him down three times, what's Jon Jones going to do to him? I know people said Ngannou was so huge. Ngannou's, weighs 265 pounds. Well, Jon Jones is going to weigh like 255. Yes, 10 pounds a big difference, but when it comes to Jon Jones, is it really? Right? I think Jon's going to take him down. I think Jon's going to hold him down. I think Jon is going to beat him by ground and pounding him on the ground. That's my prediction. Jon Jones is going to beat Ciryl Gane. He's going to get it done by TKO in the third round. I think it's going to look very similar to the Alexander Gustafsson fight the second time around. I think it's going to look just like that fight. But I think Jon Jones is going to get Ciryl Gane down, and I think he is going to get him in a crucifix, and I think he's going to beat him just like he beat Shevchenko back in the day. That's how he's going to beat Ciryl Gane. I think Jones wins, and I think officially Jon Jones will be looked at as the greatest fighter of all time, because he should. If he beats Ciryl Gane, he is the greatest fighter of all time. It was a title that I put on the last fight between Volkanovski and Makhachev. I think Alexander Volkanovski, if he ever fights Makhachev again, or if he ever goes back up to 155 again, which he should be able to fight for that title of being the greatest fighter ever, right? But Jon Jones, truly, with a win here against Ciryl Gane, will cement himself as the greatest fighter of all time, because that's what he is if he beats Ciryl Gane. If he goes up to heavyweight, he beats a guy who has only been beat once, sure, it's by Ngannou, but especially if Jon can finish him after all this time off, he is the greatest ever. We will see this Saturday night. But my official prediction: Jon Jones beats Le Bon Gamin Ciryl Gane by taking him down in the third round. Maybe, again, I don't know what happens in the first two. I think Jon maybe plays around, maybe drops the first two, because again, that's how good Gane is striking. But in that third round, Jon finds the opening. He takes him down with the double leg takedown, and he wins. He gets him in a crucifix, and Jon Jones makes Ciryl Gane look lost down there. And Jon Jones becomes the world champion at heavyweight. And new by TKO in the third round, Jon Jones wins the heavyweight championship. So, folks, that's going to do it for our predictions here for UFC 285. Again, I think Jon Jones becomes the champ, and we'll see what happens. It's such an interesting fight. The winner, again, of this fight, it's basically been revealed, is going to fight Stipe Miocic. Miocic is going to be in the crowd. Likely that fight will take place in either June or July. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm glad Stipe is getting the fight on his way out. It'll likely be Stipe's last fight. Stipe does not stand a damn chance against either Gane or Jon Jones. The winner of this fight is likely going to steamroll Stipe Miocic. I think the more interesting fight is the winner of Curtis Blaydes and Sergey Pavlovich, because if Sergey Pavlovich is able to beat Curtis Blaydes, it's like, oh my goodness, he can stuff a takedown and he can strike. That would be a very interesting fight. Or if Curtis Blaydes is able to win, I'll be honest with you, both these guys are going to beat Curtis Blaydes, but you know, you have to give him the shot if you beat Sergey Pavlovich. But that's all in the future. For now, Jon Jones captures the heavyweight championship, beating Ciryl Gane by TKO in the third round. And folks, thank you for watching our UFC 285 predictions here on the channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you have not yet. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. We'll be back next week for UFC back in Las Vegas, but at the Virgin Theater. The theater at the Virgin Hotels. In the main event, Merab Dvalishvili taking on Petr Yan. Nikita Krylov and Ryan Spann has been rescheduled for that card, and also Alexander Volkov will be taking on Alexander Romanov. You're not going to want to miss that prediction video coming out next Sunday as well. Folks, thank you for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Again, folks, thank you for watching, and Mamba forever.